You know, we humans, we're just wired for connection, aren't we? We build entire civilizations, lay cables across oceans, shoot satellites into space, all just to talk to each other. So it's totally natural that when we look up at that vast starry sky, we ask a very simple question. Are we alone? And if the answer is no, well, that opens up an even bigger mystery.
Why is it so quiet out there? This one question, it sits right at this amazing intersection of hard science and our deepest, most human sense of who we are and where we fit in the cosmos. I mean, if the universe is this big, this full of possibility, why the complete and total silence?
And hey, this isn't some new feeling. This tension, between the unbelievable scale of everything out there and our own little existence, that's ancient. People were wrestling with this feeling long, long before we ever had a radio telescope to listen with.
So this ancient wonder, it didn't really become a formal scientific problem until 1950. The setting? A casual lunch at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And the person who kicked it all off was the brilliant physicist Enrico Fermi. See, Fermi started with a pretty simple observation. Our galaxy, just the Milky Way, has something like 100 billion stars. I mean, that number is so huge it's hard to even wrap your head around. And his logic was, even if a tiny, tiny fraction of those stars have planets, and a tiny fraction of those planets develop life, our galaxy shouldn't just have life, it should be absolutely crawling with civilizations.
So right there, in the middle of lunch with his colleagues, he just asked this question. It's so simple, but it's so profound. He said, if life is common, then some of those civilizations have to be millions of years older than us. They would have had plenty of time to spread across the entire galaxy. So where is everybody?
And that question, that's what became known as Fermi's paradox. It's this glaring contradiction between how things should be, the high probability of life out there, and the deafening silence we've actually found. It's a puzzle that has haunted scientists ever since.
So, okay, we have this paradox. How have we tried to solve it? Well, for decades, one of the most popular theories wasn't really about looking at the stars, but about looking a little closer to home. It was the idea that maybe they're already here.
For over 60 years, we've had stories of UFOs fueling all kinds of speculation about alien visitors. And this has led to decades of investigations, both by amateurs and by official government programs, all trying to get to the bottom of it.
But after all that time, after all those investigations, what's the scientific consensus? Well, it's pretty clear. No physical evidence has ever been recovered. Not a single craft, no exotic debris, no confirmed alien tech. Sure, a lot of sightings are still unexplained, but they haven't given us an answer to the paradox.
Of course, we haven't just been looking for visitors. We've also been listening. Really, really listening. For almost 50 years now, programs like SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, have been using massive radio telescopes to scan the skies, hoping to pick up any signal that doesn't look natural.
And the result? You guessed it, the exact same thing. Utter silence. No intelligence signals, nothing to even hint that we have neighbors in our galactic backyard. The great silence, as they call it, continues.
Okay, so this quiet, it has led some scientists to question a really fundamental assumption we've had, the idea that the universe is generally a friendly place for life. We've held on to this thing called the Copernican principle for a long time, that we're not in a special place. But maybe we took that a little too far, thinking that not central also means not special at all. Because when you actually look at our galaxy, it's not a gentle place. The center of the galaxy is flooded with lethal radiation. You've got destructive black holes. You've got the spiral arms, which are just these chaotic blenders of violent star formation. The truth is, most of our galaxy is just plain deadly for complex life.
And yet, here we are. In the midst of all that cosmic violence and chaos, our little solar system seems to be a major exception to the rule. We seem to be tucked away in a uniquely safe harbor in a very dangerous galaxy.
It turns out our solar system is in this incredibly rare spot called the co-rotation zone. Now that sounds complicated, but the idea is actually simple. It just means we're orbiting the center of the galaxy at about the same speed as those deadly spiral arms are. We're basically keeping pace with them, so we rarely have to cross through the really bad neighborhoods.
The stability this gives us is just staggering. We only pass through one of those dangerous spiral arms about once every billion years. And to give you some context, the last time that happened was just before the big explosion of complex life here on Earth. We've had a remarkably long, quiet, and protected journey. Now, the source material we're looking at takes this scientific discovery, our incredibly precise and safe location, and connects it to a theological idea, suggesting that this perfect placement might not be random chance, but something more like a deliberate act of preparation.
But hey, even the perfect location in the galaxy isn't enough. We have to zoom way in, from the galactic scale right down to the molecular one, to the really fundamental problem of how life even gets started.
And this is where we hit a massive wall. It's a chemical catch-22. On an early, Earth-like planet, if you have oxygen in the atmosphere, it literally destroys the basic chemical building blocks you need for life. But if you don't have oxygen, then you don't have an ozone layer, and the lethal UV radiation from the star fries those building blocks instead. It's like a chemical dead end. You can't win.
And this isn't just a theory. Decades of searching space, of analyzing meteorites, of pointing our best telescopes at the sky, it's all confirmed the same thing. The basic chemical ingredients for life, things like amino acids and nucleobases, they just aren't floating around out there in any usable form.
Okay, so let's just recap for a second. We've seen these immense astronomical barriers to life, and then these seemingly impossible chemical barriers. According to this line of reasoning, when you follow the evidence, all the purely physical pathways to life just seem to be closed off.
And that brings the whole argument to its logical endpoint. If life couldn't have just happened naturally from inside the universe because of the hostile conditions and the chemical roadblocks, then maybe, just maybe, the answer comes from outside of it.
And this is the conclusion that the source material offers. That life isn't just the product of random chemistry, that it's the product of intention, an act of creation by a being that exists beyond our physical universe.
So we end by completely reframing our original question. What if the silence of the universe isn't a sign that we're lonely, but a sign that we're protected, that we're not insignificant, but that we were intentionally placed in this safe harbor? Is our universe empty, or is it a carefully prepared home? That's the question to leave you with.